Hello,
Hi
Clement.
there, Clement.
Hello, Sawa. Hello, Matt.
Ça va?
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good,
Good.
thank you.
Whereabouts are you? You're based in France?
I'm based out of Dubai.
Oh, Dubai. Okay, cool. Sarah, that's where you are.
Yes.
Hello, Peter.
Hello.
Hello, Peter.
Nice to meet.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
And you.
So we really encourage people to turn on the camera and to have an interactive session with us. We welcome you to the roundtable. So a quick introduction about myself. My name is Sara Dana. I'm in Rockwell Automation. I'm heading the Information Solutions team in EMEA. Information Solutions is mainly looking after the digital space. And prior to Rockwell, I worked for Gartner for some time, supporting CXOs in their digital journey and the digital strategy and roadmap. Matt, to you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sarah. So I'm a director at Calypso, and I'll talk about Calypso shortly. I'm based in Cambridge in the UK, and I've been working with clients across the energy sector, manufacturing sectors for the past 13 years and been delivering sort of digital transformation. 13 years ago, we didn't call it digital transformation, but working in transformation and digital projects for the last 13 years with many different clients in different settings. Worked on everything from additive manufacturing in oil and gas to machine learning on drum dryers in the food industry to putting in IoT infrastructure across the enterprise. So all sorts of different things from my perspective.
All right, just to give you a quick introduction about this session, the theme of this session today is talking about the CIO and how it's linked to the connected enterprise. We're gonna have 4 main points to cover. How the CIO's role changed from being a cost center to the trust center, or to be able to enable the business. Another part would be the challenges that CIOs are facing today, the change management and how it impacts the transformation, and also scaling digital transformation successfully. As a lot of our clients, we see they get stuck in pilots, so we help them in scaling, and this is a discussion that we're gonna have with you today, and we really want your interaction during the session and want to hear your experience. So talking about Rockwell and Rockwell Automation, connected enterprise is our vision. We help organizations transform in 3 main aspects. The connected assets, where they can increase the utilization of the assets, the reliability, connected people by leveraging the skills of the people, getting more digital skills, get them on board, keep them safe, and also the connected operations by being more efficient and effective as possible. Last year, Rockwell invested in Calypso and they acquired Calypso. And we want to hear from Matt. How does it feel like? What's the vision behind that, and how they joined the Rockwell family?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Sarah. I'll just be very brief here so we can get into the discussion. But Calypso is a professional services company. We're about 350 or nearly 400 people strong across the globe, in the Americas, Europe, the Middle East, and in Asia. We were acquired by Rockwell last May, and now we delivered digital transformation for Rockwell. Very much part of Rockwell's strategy to move towards a software and services approach. And we've got a lot of experience, established in 2004, and we're organized around consulting. So we do digital strategy, digital operations, change management, as well as product and portfolio management. Second sort of bucket we're organized around is data science. So very much hot topic these days in digital is data science and machine learning and analytics, and we've got a dedicated data science practice to do that work. And thirdly, digital technology. So We focus on the digital twin, product and data lifecycle management, the Internet of Things, and what we call extended reality, so augmented reality and virtual reality aspects of digital. We've recently been recognized by Gartner and IDC in the digital space. So that's a little bit about us.
Sounds good. And maybe we can hear from the people, like if you can turn on your cameras and join us, we'll be happy to hear from you as well. Feel free also to write on the chat.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I can't see the chat, Tara. Can you see the chat?
I think you have to click first on chat and then you can write something down.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, cool. I can see it now. Yeah. Yeah. Ah, John Woods is John Woods with us?
No, he's not.
No, he's not. He's not here today.
So Max,
Okay.
you have the poll. Maybe you can start with that.
Yep. I'll get going. I think one of the first topics that Sarah mentioned was the CIO or the IT organization, technical organization, as a revenue driver. In the past, years and years ago, the CIO's office or the sort of technology organization was very much a cost center. With the advent of new digital opportunities, moving more towards a revenue driver. So really, want to ask a question here that looks at the different ways that organizations, in particularly the CIO and IT organization, are organized. And I've sort of listed 3 different types of approach to digital transformation. Which, in my view, my experience is how organizations are approaching this at the moment. So if you have a look at those 3 categories and see if you can sort of pick out the one that's closest to you. It may not be exact, and if none of them fit, I'll be interested to hear your experiences on how your organization is approaching digital. So I'll give that a minute, and then we'll have a look at what people have said, and we can get into some viewpoints on that.
The poll is actually ready, so if you can answer from your side.
I think for us, we are a chain of pharmacies in Belgium. We're about 250 pharmacies. What we did in the last couple of years was getting the basics right by implementing SAP Retail on HANA. And what's now for me the challenge is, I'm the IT director of Multipharma, and for me the challenge is, okay, if you look at all the opportunities that are there, you talked about extended reality, Internet of Things, Internet of medical things, where to start?
That's right. That's right.
There are a lot of opportunities there, and you see wearables, you see everything is connected, and how can IT make the difference? It's also it's a topic. Of course, we are in the first health providing sector, so health is something that's high at the top of mind of everybody. But where can we as a company make a difference? Do we have to invest or cooperate with universities, with startups? Do we have to think about wearables that are connected and that give some data about the health of people, and that we can increase the adherence of the people to their medicines or things like that? There are a lot of ideas, but still immense ideas.
One of the main focuses at the moment is not to look at the technology itself, to focus on the value, and really direct all the use cases that you have to where you will find the best value the low-hanging fruit, and then to drive things further to partner and find the right partner for you that can help you scale and get the returns that you have. Because most organizations now, the ones who scaled saw a lot of return on investment. They saw a lot of the financial impact on the P&L. But the reason behind that was not focusing on really the technology. It's driving further than that, having the full organization on board and really focusing on the business outcomes. Where is the business getting the revenue? Where are the use cases that are repeatable, that can drive the P&L and create this double-digit growth for the organization? Does anyone agree with me on that or have a different view? Yeah, sorry.
I mean, for me, just one comment on the side of going from a cost center to a trust center. I would be really interested to hear your thought about this crisis has brought technology and digital transformation even more at the heart of our conversation. But what has been so far the implication of the IT organization? Because obviously you have a key role to play here, but is the reflex of the business to coming to you directly or not yet? Does that?
Yeah. I think that's a really good point to bring up the global pandemic and the way that's influenced organizations to drive digital transformation quicker in many cases. I mean, we saw in the early stages of the pandemic companies having to switch or choosing to switch production from vacuum cleaners to ventilators, which was the case in Dyson here in Europe. And as well as that, I think companies found themselves at risk because their workforce was not able to work in the way that it used to be work close together and shift patterns, etc. So I think the pandemic has driven us to look at how we can do work more remotely as well. So we've seen a growth in technologies that would enable remote monitoring of equipment, more analytics and machine learning and prediction around equipment. So you need less people on site, and also enabling more flexible manufacturing. So workforce allocation, training, those kind of things in the virtual reality, augmented reality space. So it's a good point. Shall we have a look at the poll?
Yes.
I think we should slightly move around with the topic here, but I can't see it. Can you guys see it?
Yes, I can.
Show results.
I can't. Where do I look? Can you see it, Sarah?
I pressed on show results, but I cannot see it. I'm asking for help.
Okay. Arlene, are we able to?
I see two votes.
Yeah, this time we have 2 votes for the CIO IT organization as a revenue driver. We have 2 votes for approach is taken to DX with some projects, and then 1 vote for a cost center.
Okay, now that's interesting. So there's quite a balanced approach, and that's reflective of what we see when we work with clients. There is a variable approach, and probably the one that's set up for success is where the CIO and IT organization is considered a revenue driver, strongly by the company, by the organization, the enterprise itself, and it's set up a central function to do that, and that function works closely with the business and OT stakeholders as well. I mean, there is a blending of OT and IT technologies with digital, so having that reflected in your organization is important. and then using partners as well to support the delivery of digital from a central standpoint.
Maybe we can hear from people who answered the first question with the first part of being a revenue driver, combining IT with OT, and being the business partner of the business leaders. Maybe people can tell us their experience here. Anyone answered that? If not, we can also hear from the rest who answered the second approach and the third approach of being a cost center.
Yes, Sarah, if I may, it's Johan van Wingen here, DP World. Do you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's you can't really jump, I think, from the lowest to the highest. So you need to go through really literally the 3 stages. I think that's a very important one. And I think coming back to the question that Peter has, I think I find myself a little bit in the middle for the time being. And I remember, if I can just maybe explain it that way, like up till 3 years ago, we had to educate our board members on all what the technology was all about. They didn't know what IoT was, they didn't know what AI was, etc., etc. Now it becomes really the opposite. They are challenging us now because they get the literature in. So they throw IoT at us, they tell us what AI is, and then they're asking us the question, can you figure out what it can do for us? So it comes back to what you were saying, is you really need to narrow it down. What is the value creation that you are looking for? And the way that I explored it in my company is that, yes, sometimes we struggle as a generation, we struggle with it and how to get there because we're too much technology focused, because that's where we came out from the last 20 years. So really come out of your comfort zone, get yourself surrounded with people that do see it where you don't see it, or necessarily don't see it, and then pick out the priorities. So yes, reach out to partners is one thing. On the other hand, what I learned, and that's very recently, is use the new generation also to tell you how to walk that path, because we all have kids, we all have teenagers. Just have the conversation with them and you'll be surprised on how they are looking, what glasses that they are looking through, and let them challenge you. And then you'll be surprised on how many opportunities that you have and linking all those dots together. And then it really, as a next step, it comes to try one step at a time, try with little proof of concept, work in a very agile way so they can really show the turnover. So ask for a little bit of money, do the small investments, create a little bit of value there, and then it sets you going. And that's where I see myself today. Okay, I will become a revenue generator versus a cost center, because I have a firm roadmap now, and in 2 years from now, we sincerely hope that we will hit our targets. So we're already walking that path there. But to tell you now that I will never be seen anymore as a cost center, I think somewhere you will always have that dilemma. You will, because that's, again, the people in the board, they're also used of seeing IT as a cost center. So you will never be able to take that stamp completely away. But you will have to see how it works. I think best of both worlds. And I think that's where we need to look at for the future. But definitely, if you're not there yet, push yourself going there. And I think today you won't have too many difficulties on getting your board members or whatever convinced of supporting you there.
Johan, I cannot agree more with you of what you said. You are really spot on. I just have a question regarding the COVID situation and the disruption that it's doing. How did this impact your organization and the bridge the gap between also the IT and the business leaders?
Well, again, I think it's both sides of the stories. I think for some things we had to slow down. It really for us came down to, okay, pick the right priorities and accelerate them wherever you can. I think that's in summary what we did. I mean, trying to shoot at every different opportunity that there was out there. Even in a normal situation, you would not want to do that. But even now, we would push more into, hey, just pick out the priorities you want to focus on, and sometimes it's the wrong one. Okay, then just fail and move on, pick another one and move on again. I think that was the essence, again, making sure that even in these remote working conditions and whatever, that was not even a challenge for us or an opportunity. It became very easily or very fast business as usual. But it was more like, what was the impact of the pandemic in the local economy, and where could we alleviate that, or where could we help them in making it easier for them, and then prioritize that, and then you are seen very fastly as, I would say, a digital leader because you're helping your customer through walking through that digital journey. And that's the way that we approached it on prioritizing what we wanted to do moving forward. So again, everybody had to do it because in a crisis, cash is king. So that's the first thing that you do. You take your P&L, you take your CapEx projects, and you take your kind of red marker, and that's where you start. But make sure before you do that, take the green marker first, and just highlight the 2 or the 3 ones that you really want to succeed and you want to focus on. Take that, and again, take that as a value story. Go to your board and say, hey, this is what I still want to do. I couldn't care less about all the rest if you want to put those on hold, but let these survive because these are the ones we really need. Superb.
And I think you're sort of answering Peter's question there about where to start. You've sort of overcome that in terms of understanding where to prioritize. Johan.
I have a question for Johan. What does it mean? What does it mean for your team? Because we had people that were used to do, let's say, IT in a classic way, and suddenly they have to do something different, which is nice things, nice stuff, but not everybody can make that change.
No, it's interesting, and that's where agile and lean really comes into practice. And I think that's where personally I see myself having to stand up as well as a CIO, because you really need to guide and navigate your team through that. And it comes back. First of all, understand the people that you're dealing with. Understand also the generations, because typically you look at each the Xers, the Yers, the Millennials. The Millennials, why? Right? Always they want to understand why they need to do everything, but you really need to understand and approach it that way as well, because everybody wants. I mean, everybody can understand that changes are happening in priorities, that we need to walk a different direction. But sometimes people also need to understand the cause. Why do we need to do that? And you really need to step back and have those conversations with them. But once they see it, and again, if you can go with very fast iterations, then you're up for celebrating success very repetitively. And that's also where you will see them that they stay on board as well.
Cool. I wonder. That's great. Really great, Johan. Some good advice there. I wonder if there's any other viewpoints.
I wonder if RT maybe has a view on that, maybe because I can see you're a part of Oracle, and within how do you drive the business from that angle, and how do you see the business impacted by what we just discussed?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, I'm leading the cloud business for Oracle in Germany. So I'm kind of coming from the vendor perspective, and I can contribute with some of the examples I see when I deal with my clients. And to Peter and Johan's points, I very much see the point like Peter pointed out when it comes to where to start and what to do basically. And it's the ones who have been successful being able to exploit the potential from for example, cloud technology, have been the ones who basically slipped into the shoes of the client and asked themselves, what problem do we need to solve for our clients? It's not about adding different technology bits and pieces. It was more about what is the real priority right now, especially in the COVID situation. Where do they contribute and can make a difference to their customers, and then translate that back into technology? And that's very much to Johan's points about how do you then prioritize? What are the 2 or 3 elements you can do and deal with? And I've suffering from several situations when we reached out and tried to sell technology. And obviously for all of a sudden we got stuck in the projects and we asked ourselves why. And you hear so many excuses, but it's very much about most clients do exactly what Peter and Johan pointed out when it comes to, okay, where do we start and where do we prioritize and how do we kick that off and get rid of the rest? So as Johan rightfully said, that couldn't care less about many of the other elements vendors mostly try to offer to them, but it's very much about where do they make a difference. That's the overall sentence.
No, great. We've got a sort of a switch up, switch topics. Should we have another poll, Ali? We can look at exactly what we're talking about here, some of the challenges and the most common ones with our audience. We want to do this quickly. I think the time is going quite quick here. So this question is about, if you can just pick the top challenge that you're facing in the organization, in your organization against sort of implementing digital. If you have a look at that poll, hopefully it's showing now. And unfortunately, you're only able to pick one. That's the constraint of the platform we're using today. But you just pick your top one, and we can have a look and compare notes around the top.
I would like to also ask people to join. If they can turn on the camera and join the conversation, we would like that, to learn and hear your experience as well.
Good.
I'm not sure we have the option on the poll.
There's no option.
It still shows the old poll.
Correct.
Okay. I thought I was the only one.
So Aline.
Aline's adding it now. Just tell us when you can see that. Can you see it now?
I can see the poll as well. It's still the previous one, but Aline is working on publishing this one. It will take less than a minute.
Yeah, it's okay.
So yeah, so just touching base and confirming on what we have discussed on where do you stand from being a cost center to a business driver or enabler. As you all mentioned, that the priorities change, agility and flexibility, also having everyone in the organization know their role, what it means to them, looking at the different audience that we're talking to and having them on board. I believe in the past, a CIO role was more into just the technology itself, not much of interaction with the different departments, where now there's a lot of contribution to a digital journey where it touches base every department in the organization, and the ownership of that has to come from the business. So this is the disruption. This is what's changing the mindset and changing the game to be an enabler.
Good. Have we got the results? Do we have the results? Well, I can see it now, by the way.
Oh, you can see the questions. I don't see it yet. It's still not there.
Okay, so at this point in time, we have 2 votes at digital skills in the organization. Same thing for don't know where to start. And then 1 person for difficulty moving out of pilot. No governance roadmap is also one of the strong contenders. Majority right now is not having the right skill set in the organization.
Okay. All right. No, that's really interesting, and I think that is not uncommon, and that's why we put that option on the poll. It's something that we see as well, and that's something that that's why we're in business as Calypso, as a sort of digital transformation organization, because we're brought in to augment organization skills. But what we're seeing in the market at the moment is organizations are actually really working hard to build their own skill sets around this. I mean, you may not go down as far as having coders and developers and things like that on board, but you certainly set up an organization made up of the business, OT, and IT team members. Has anybody got any comments on that and how they're overcoming or looking to overcome the lack of skills?
If I may, I'm not surprised seeing number 3 on there, but it doesn't need to put you, kind of scare you off, I would say, because skills is something you can source anywhere. It's like you mentioned, there's companies out there that making a business out of it. Just a news flash, if now it says 30%, I would be curious to see what that number will look like in 1 year from now. It's not going to go down, because that's going to be always the problem that we face, because things are going so fast and rapidly. So I think it's making sure that you put your kind of framework in place in your organization on how to deal with that, and the rest is something you can just source. So seeing it out there, the number is already going up while I'm talking, so that's good. It proves me right, I guess. No, seeing it out there, but again, don't let that scare you off, because I think if you build out your network wisely and you build out your trust relationship with your ecosystem, then you can maybe sometimes go even more in a more agile way than trying to build your own internal organization, because the time it will take you to build it out completely internally, you may already have to review it because the world has moved on meantime.
One for me part here, definition of organization. So into an IT organization, definitely you tend to hire the skills there. And what I see with I'm having today with all of the other departments is that you're working on a different playing field, and where you're successful in these efforts is where purposely or non-purposely the other departments have managed to hire people with some digital acumen, and that then you see things really accelerating. Where that's not the case, and generations were mentioned earlier, that is where you really struggle, and where then if you look into, I think, number 6, that is when number 6 comes in, and people see it as an IT thing where it's not. So I think for me that's the nuance that I would like to bring in, because I put on 3, but that's really from an broad company organization point of view, not just IT organization.
No, and Stan, I can only echo that. I think I was the only one putting 5 out there, but I thought I could put in more than one answer, because for me it was really 6, and that's what I'm really seeing happening now, and it connects completely back to what Stan was mentioning, is that you see you want to move forward, and you're there, you build out your proof of concept, and then you want to push it further out, but that's where you see that as an IT organization by yourself, you're missing some kind of a skill set somewhere, and sometimes if you want to generate revenue, you need to have that commercial kind of a flair in or skill set, but not maybe the traditional commercial organization that you have, but people that understand how to sell digital businesses out there. And that's sometimes where you see that the pace in which you are going, because the business is pushing you and they expect you to do so, at some point you get kind of blocked anyway, and how do you deal with that? And really, then you look, okay, this is the investment that I made. Now I'm ready to pull the trigger and to take the next step, but somebody's having cold feet somewhere because we're missing something. So for me, really, it's all about 5 and 6. The combination of 5 and 6 is what I'm struggling. But struggling is a big word, but where I see some opportunities today.
Oh, cool. And Stitchin, did you work for a large, a global? Is it fair to say food manufacturer, or do you want to tell us your role? Stitchin, have I got your name right?
When you were just talking, you were, Jan, and I heard before, you're really talking about digitalization as a revenue stream.
Correct.
And I think you're DP World, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think I do see it there. I'm Danone, so I sell yogurts, basically, which is obviously a different line of business, and digitalization plays there. But for me, that's also here. If you then look into efforts that you take, are really about using digitalization to bring in new channels to drive your revenue in. So I don't really see revenue from digitalization itself. I do see it from being able to build new
I think that's maybe we should revenue is maybe misplaced in this context, but it's more in the broader sense to what you are saying. It's really driving more business by digitalization. So not doing digitalization because of efficiency, but doing digitalization by creating value for your customers, which then leads in doing more business, either through direct revenue, that can be one thing, or you just broaden your service portfolio by which you attract more customers, or a new customer, or whatever portfolio in that way.
That's
more,
an interesting...
customer intimacy, customer centricity. It's more in that space then.
I think that's we're rounding on an interesting point, that there is the digital transformation, which is often focused on is improving efficiency, manufacturing efficiency, OEE, throughput, or quality, those kind of things. But what Steen's saying is it's also about new revenue streams with the customer. So is there something?
I've met with us because he seems to be completely frozen on my screen.
That's because he doesn't pronounce your name in the correct way. It's Steen.
Steen,
yes.
Steen.
So
okay,
we still
apologies.
have audio on Matt, but we don't have him on visuals.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, Steen, I couldn't hear your comment, the last comment. Can you hear Matt, or you're not able to hear him?
I can hear and see everybody fine.
Matt and seems that both audio and video.
Both of you, everybody.
No, I'm hearing everyone as well. Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. All right.
Maybe.
No, I think maybe on this topic, and that comes back to the previous point where what are you prioritizing and the green marker. For me, it was clearly I wanted to really look where can I create value for my customer or to the community in the broader sense, and not trying to use the typically the pitfall here would be, well, there's a crisis out there, we can't do anything on the outside, let's clean up on the inside and see whatever we can do on the inside. Not that's not important, but if I would need to prioritize as a CIO, I would rather create value to the outside, because that puts you ahead of the market. Once the hockey stick or whatever effect comes in there, those are the partners that the world will look at, that they want to continue doing business with.
And that is something that we never used to see in the past. Now it's more about customer centricity, where the focus, you can evolve the business and create new revenue streams that were never there, and transform the company after you optimize where you stand, and take it to another journey. So it's really spot on to the point on that area.
Sort of the Uberization effect is what some people call it. We've seen disruptors, haven't we? Like Uber has been for the taxi market. Through a digital platform, they've created some whole new revenue stream for themselves in digital hailing of taxis. So what is there any other examples of how companies have created value for customers through digital? Has anybody else got any examples of that?
Airbnb.
Sorry, say again.
Airbnb would be another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or I think what the transition that what is it, the food and beverage, the horeca is doing today. I mean, some of them have really seen it. Some of them already have seen it from the first wave. Some of them are seeing it now, but the ones that have not seen it yet, I think those are the ones we won't see coming back anymore at all. So also there, they had to adjust their business model, but it was all centered about digital, just approaching people all the way at their houses and bringing the service all the way in front of at your front door, so to speak, and where the previous business model was that we want people to come to us and enjoy the experience here. Now it's more not only bringing the goods to the front door, but bringing the experience to the front door. So I think there is also the transition that you see there.
Johan, just a quick comment on that. You mentioned obviously prioritization on your project, but when we speak about the IT organization, obviously when you go from digital optimization, let's say, to digital proper transformation and bringing new business streams and revenue, do you organize differently your team? Because obviously it's a different mindset of, I'm going to try to optimize something, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to generate new value and new revenue stream to the organization. So I guess it requires different mindsets to approach that.
Yeah, it does, and I think that comes back to do you want to try to build out your organization completely internally or not? I think for us it was a clear decision that for the project-based activities, that's what we've always done in the past. We don't want to rely on always internal people to do project activities, and it also has to do on how you capitalize it and things like that. I think that was kind of the situation that I entered the crisis in, so that gave me also kind of the framework to go any direction that I wanted to go, because I could control it. It was being capitalized anyway, so I can kind of fill in the blanks there, whatever I wanted to do, which meant that by definition I have a relatively thin IT organization to deal with, but then I can focus more on the internal people. To the discussion we had is how can we change their mindset on being agile and lean, and having to adapt in that new normal situation on dealing with those projects. So was there a change? I would say yes, because the content changed and the direction changed slightly, but it was, I would say, not to say very easy for me, but relatively easy to adjust, because you look at your partner and your ecosystem that you work with, and either they can adjust or they can't, and then you just move on to another one that can do whatever you want them to do for you.
No, great discussion. Unfortunately, we're just about at the end of time, and the nature of this platform, I think, is that we just get cut off. So, maybe we just want to just conclude with a few sort of thoughts here. A couple of takeaways from me. Johan has made some good points here about starting small, being agile. I think we've all concluded as well that skills are an important aspect of setting up digital in the organization. And also, the other takeaway from me is the challenge of Peter's challenge of knowing where to start, but understanding where you're going to get value from, whether that be to the customer or to the efficiency of the manufacturing process, perhaps. Sarah, did you have any sort of final comment?
I agree with you on that, on the takeaways that you've mentioned, and also moving from a technology first to a value first is a very important part. Being agile and flexible, this has been touched upon many times. While building the skills, digital skills internally, this is something that we discussed, but also you can rely on externals to build the capabilities that you have within the organization. And maybe falling into a trap of a pilot can be something that is threatening or can have a really serious consequences on the organization. But scaling can be really something that can drive and the aim of every CIO. Maybe another point that Johan mentioned, which is the business people will never look at the CIO as a business partner or not a cost center. I believe this is changing a lot. I hope one day we will reach to a point where it is actually influencing the business and driving it, and we can see the improvement by the day, where we were in the past and where do we stand today, and how it can become better and better in the future.
Good. Any
additional thoughts?
Our challenge as
we can hear from you. Being in the part of the yogurt business, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think
do you
Sarah,
agree on those thoughts? Anything else you'd like to share?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Stan, we can hear you, but I think Sarah.
We can hear you, but Sarah apparently not.
Funny.
I cannot hear. Okay, there is an issue with the platform.
Yeah, and I think from my side, I think the key is that we have to find a way to get away from being the calculator of the CFO to being an integral part of delivering value towards the customers. So that's my point. So maybe I should type it up for Sarah, but or somebody else can relate if she can hear you guys.
Yeah. No, great. That's great comment there, Steen. I think most people heard that. And,
I didn't hear it, but I can see you nodding, so I nodded along.
Yeah, and maybe for the three, Peter, to your, how do you start with it? Just give it food for thought. But if you don't have a product innovation manager or that type of a profile in your organization, the first opportunity you have, put one in your organization and make sure it's one of the youngsters these days, not the very young ones, but make sure that they know how these guys are looking at the world today. And what I've learned as well is when I hired mine, make sure he's not familiar with your industry. So, because you want that guy to be able to think completely out of the box. So that would be my, if you really want to start with something, then that guy is going to pay himself off very, very fast.
Thanks.
Excellent. Good. Well, I think just I mean, in concluding, I think just to mention that you've been hosted today by Sarah from Rockwell and myself from Calypso, which is a Rockwell company, as I mentioned. We've got an ecosystem partnership with PTC and Microsoft, so we're set up to support you in your digital transformation journey, and please reach out to us. I'm on LinkedIn. I think Sarah, you are too. So, happy to stay in touch and support you in your digital journey. It's been a great discussion, and I wish it could have gone on longer.
We will have a follow-up session to discuss with you further. Have a great day, and thank you so much for attending.
Yeah, the same for you.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.